Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. This came out June 24th, 2009. That's when it premiered in the US. Directed by Michael Bay. Once again, executive produced by Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg. This is the follow-up to 2007 beyond blockbuster film that it is, starring Shia LaBeouf. We have Michaela being played by Megan Fox. We have Josh Duhamel, Tyrese Gibson. Sam's parents are back. Mucho the Chihuahua has got a boyfriend now. Hysterical. So this film is a continuation of the first. We know that time has passed. Sam is about to be a freshman in college in Pennsylvania. A school is not specifically named, but it's in Philadelphia. That's where Sam is going to school. So Sam is packing up to go away to college. Michaela is working at a body shop with her father, who's out of jail now. Her record has been wiped clean. He is out of jail, so he is now becoming a member of society again. And Sam is going through his stuff, and he sees his, battle jacket, his brown hoodie that he wore in the first one, which is what he used for the cube, the Allspark, to put right into Megatron, and Megatron then died, and then Megatron was thrown into the ocean. So a shard from the Allspark, a shard from the cube, Sam found in his jacket, and he picks it up and he looks at it, and then all of a sudden he gets this surge of stuff, and he starts seeing things. He starts seeing symbols from some ancient text, and he just starts seeing all these things, and he keeps hearing all these voices, robot wise. So the shard then does what the shard does, because it is the Allspark. It transforms all of the appliances in the kitchen into beasts and violently attacks the house. Bumblebee tries to save them. The house kind of gets blown to a little here and there, but Sam's parents are hysterical during all this as well, because Judy, his mom, doesn't want to let her baby boy go, so they're going to her booties. She's crying her eyes out. It's a moment. So Sam and family eventually get to Philadelphia, unpacks. He meets his roommate, Leo. I love this character of Leo. I completely forgot the actor's name who plays Leo, and it kills me that we don't see him ever again. But he was such a great character in this film, and it sucks so we don't get to see him. He's a good roommate and then fellow explorer, because he gets trapped into all this. So because Sam is seeing things, he has a little breakdown in his philosophy class, in his astrology class, taught by Rainn Wilson, mind you. And he starts to paint and draw all the symbols that he's seeing all over his and Leo's, room. So there's this girl who's very attracted to Sam. We see this at a frat party. Bumblebee comes back, warns that, things are going down. Bumblebee is warning that the Fallen is rising because of what the Autobots had witnessed in Shanghai while Sam is packing to go to college. There's still robot fights going on, but the U.S. government has sanctioned a Autobot division, basically, to exterminate any Decepticons that have kind of stayed. But then there's new Autobots, and then there's new Decepticons, because word got out, and then everyone's flocking to Earth now. So one of the Decepticons in Shanghai says the Fallen will rise again before he's killed. So it's a matter of who is the Fallen. The Fallen, as we see in the very beginning of this movie, is the very first Decepticon who he and his crew brought a giant machine to Earth in 17,000 BC, which then the natives and ancients built a pyramid in Egypt around. The machine takes a star, destroys the star to make Energon, because Energon is the life force of Autobots and Decepticons alike. Okay, so there's a female robot who can look like a human, who's trying to get information out of Shia's brain. So she sticks her robot tongue in his brain, but it doesn't go all the way. And then Michaela kind of walks in at that moment, because she's trying to bring her Decepticon that she kind of met to the mix to try to get information as well. And it's a whole thing. So Leo is mixed in with this as well. So the female robot is attacking the school. She's trying to attack all of them. Megatron is brought back to life, because one of the Decepticons that dives down into the ocean gets killed, basically, and his spark gets put into Megatron, and then his parts Megatron uses. So Megatron is back. So Megatron is now in Philadelphia. He is attacking Sam to try to get this information. In New York, Megatron goes to New York, then he goes to Philadelphia. And then hold Sam down, then the Autobots come in and kind of save the day. But while this is happening, certain aspects of the government are trying to get rid of all of the robots in general, which they can't do, clearly. So they need someone to translate the symbols that Sam keeps seeing. So they eventually learn to trust the tiny little robot, Decepticon that Michaela had captured, who then says, hey, I know a guy who might know this. So they go to the Smithsonian Aeronautic Museum to talk to an older Decepticon who doesn't care about sides anymore. He switched to the Autobots years ago, but he's never seen a prime. And then he goes into the history of the primes, that there were 7 original primes, that they are the only ones who can defeat a fallen. The primes had a matrix. So in the first movie, we had the Allspark, right, which is the cube. And then in the second movie, we have the matrix. So the matrix is what a leader can possess, and that possesses pure power. So a lot of the primes, the last living primes in Egypt, killed themselves to make a tomb, basically, that kept the matrix inside. So the older Decepticon that they meet at the Smithsonian Museum literally portals them to Egypt to then get the matrix. So they find the matrix, they figure out the clues, the 3 stars, the tip of Jordan, stuff like that, tip of the sword, things like that. And they realize that the Decepticons are trying to now infiltrate the Decepticons mixed with the Fallen and his crew are trying to infiltrate the Great Pyramid of Giza to get to the machine, to then activate the machine with the Matrix, because the Matrix, because its power, can start the machine to start drawing out the power from the sun to create the Energon. So there's massive battles from multiple governments. You have Autobots and Decepticons and the Fallen and his crew, and everyone's fighting each other, and there's hilarity ensues, but there's a lot of deep moments. And a lot of people forget that we actually see an afterlife in this movie. The movie starts in 17,000 BC, right? Then we have the 2-year jump of the incidents at the the Hoover Dam and the in Los Angeles, right, in the 2007 Transformers. And then in 2009, we go from all over the place. We go from LA, we go to Philadelphia, we go to New York, we go to Jordan, pretty much Egypt, that whole general, Red Sea area. And what's important is Sam dies in Egypt. A lot of people forget this. Sam dies in Egypt. He goes to a heaven, quote unquote. He goes to some afterlife where there's the original primes full of clouds telling him, we've been watching you. You sacrificed yourself to save one of us. You've earned the power of the Matrix. So Sam then comes back to life, takes the Matrix, plops it in Optimus's chest because Optimus was killed by Megatron at the beginning of this movie. Optimus comes back to life. The older Decepticon, who's now an Autobot, rips out his Allspark to then give to, Optimus to then take all his parts so that way he can fight and battle. And after he rips the face off of the Fallen, that was pretty intense. Everything calms down. Optimus puts another word out into the world, we're here. Let's not forget the past so that way we can be excited about the future, things like that. This is a pretty great movie. It was a nice continuation of the first. Obviously, the Transformers films are not panned well critically, except for Bumblebee, which got over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. But everything else is like 20 or below. I can understand, but there's a lot of dramatic and thematic elements within the cinematography and the sound editing that I talked about in the first review for Transformers, the 2007 Transformers, that still holds true in the 2009 Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. This is why I love this film series. Up until the 4th. But we'll talk about it. And Bumblebee is incredible, but we're going to review movie by movie. We'll do a general consensus kind of at the end. And yes, okay, we can breathe now. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. We did it. Excellent. Mucho mahalo.